Hi, I'm Reese, a designer with the Quilted Cow. Today I will show you how to make the Cora Clutch. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Husqvarna Viking Sewing Machines, Creative Grids, Rulers, Mats, and Cutters, and the beautiful Wilmington prints. Let's get started.
Quiet on set, we are rolling.
Today I'll show you how to make the Cora Clutch. Check out our website for kits and patterns at thequiltedcow.com. The kits come with the pattern and all the fabric you need to sit and sew. Let's get started. This is the Cora Clutch, and you can make it with the wristlet, or I'm going to show you how to make a crossbody strap as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. You're going to fuse your main fabrics with fusible batting, and then your lining pieces we're going to fuse with lightweight interfacing. So I've already fused my main pieces with the batting, and I'm going to lay this one to the side. And then I'm going to grab the pieces for my bow. Okay, as you can see here, I have already folded over one side of my fabric for my bow, and I'm going to do that on the opposite side. So I'm just going to fold it over 1/4 inch and then fold over one more time. And then I like to use my Wonder Clips. And I'm just going to pin them down as I go or clip. Now that this is finished, I'm going to take it to the machine and just do a top stitch right over that fold. Let's do that. Okay, now that I have both sides folded over, I'm going to lay that in my main fabric to the side. Okay, now I'm going to work on the piece that goes over the bow in the center. I'm going to fold this in half, right sides together. And let me give it a good press. And then you can use some Wonder Clips just to keep that in place. And then I'm going to stitch down the open side, and then we're going to turn it right sides out. So go ahead and stitch, and then I'll come back once it's right sides out like this. Let's do that. Okay, now that I have taken my bow center piece, sewn it, and I turned it right sides out, I'm going to press the seam. Give that a nice good press so it lays flat. Make sure your seam is into the center when you're pressing it. And then next, I'm going to take the short ends right sides together. As you can see here, my seam is facing up, and the right sides of my centerpiece will be in the center. So you want to make sure that you can see your seam, and then just take one of your Wonder Clips and keep that together, making sure everything lines up. I'm going to take it to the machine and sew down that side. Let's do that. Okay, now that I have sewn my short ends together, I'm going to press those open, and then after you have pressed your seam open, we're just going to flip that right sides out. Now let's start attaching the bow. So lay your main fabric flat, and you're going to measure down 1/2 inch and then up 1/2 inch, down from the top, up from the bottom 1/2 inch on both sides. So let's go ahead and do that. Now take your bow fabric and lay it right on top of your main fabric. As you can see here, my bow is a little longer than my main fabric. That's okay, because what we're going to do is kind of fold it back and forth like you would a fan. And then let's go ahead and slide the center piece onto our bow. And then just kind of adjust your bow. And at this point now, you will want to just clip the top pieces right under that line that we made. Clip your top pieces, and then we'll clip our bottom pieces. Now I'm going to take it to the machine and baste my bow down in place. That way it won't move. Let's do that. Okay, I have stitched one side of my bow down, and I just wanted to show you that the bow is still a little longer than my main fabric. That's okay. And on this side, I did add some pins in place. That way my bow was just stable while I sewed over it. So let's go ahead and take this side to the machine and sew right down that line on top. Okay, now that I have both of my sides stitched together, I'm going to lay this right sides down. I'm going to take my ruler and trim off the extra pieces of the bow. That way I get a straight line. Okay, and there you have your bow. You can adjust the center piece to where you want it. And then if you want to tack the bow center piece down, you can at this time. Okay, now we'll put our bow and main fabric to the side. And you'll grab one lining piece and the pocket piece. So let's lay our lining fabric just to the side. Now we're going to work on the pocket. You'll lay your pocket fabric right sides up, and then you'll fold it right sides together. Let's go ahead and give that a nice press. Now we'll stitch a 1/4 of an inch around the 3 sides, leaving a 2 to 3 inch opening on the bottom. Let's go ahead and do that. Take your pocket fabric, lay it right sides up, and fold your short ends together with the wrong side of the fabric up. I'm going to give that a nice press. Then I'm going to pin or clip in place, and I'm going to sew down each side, and then on the bottom, I'm going to leave a 2 to 3 inch space so we can turn it right sides out. Let's go ahead and take it to the machine and do that. Now that I have stitched my pocket, I'm going to just clip the corners a little bit, and now we're going to flip it right sides out. Okay, now that we have our pocket right sides out, let's go ahead and give that a nice press. Okay, now let's take our lining fabric and fold it in half, and you can either press this or just kind of give it a nice press with your fingers. We're just trying to find center. And then fold it the opposite way. And use your fingers to just get a nice press. That way we have found center. And let's do the same with our pocket. Let's find center. Okay, now that we have center on both of them, I did forget to tell you that on your pocket, after we turn it right sides out, you'll want to do a top stitch on the folded part of your pocket. And I'm going to take that to the machine real quick and do that, and then we'll attach the pocket to the lining. Let's go ahead and do that. Now that I have my pocket top stitched, I'm going to lay this where the pocket and the lining are centered from where I folded it. And this bottom of my pocket where the opening is, I want to make sure that's just pressed in, and then I'm going to take a pin and pin everything down. Okay, now that I have my pocket pinned to my lining, I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch around each side. So just do a top stitch. Let's do that. Now that my pocket is attached to the lining, if you're wanting to add, like make 2 pockets, I'm going to add a stitch right where that fold was that we made originally for the center. And I'm going to stitch right down that line. I'm going to start from the bottom though and work my way to the top of the opening. As you can see now, there's 2 pockets. And you can make your pockets whatever size you would like just by adding an extra stitch. So let's go ahead and set that piece aside, and I'm going to work on my tabs. And I'm going to take my tab piece and folding it in half, and then opening it up, folding the edges to the center, giving that a press, and then folding my other side to the center as well. And then I'm going to fold it over once again. So you have your opening piece, folding each side to the center, and then folding it once again in half. Now that we have everything folded, I'm going to top stitch down this open side. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now that I have my tab done, you'll just repeat that process if you're making 2 for the strap. You'll want 2 tabs, but if you're making the wristlet, you'll just want to make 1. So I have put my D-ring on this, and I'm going to stitch as close to the D-ring as I can. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I have stitched 2 D-rings onto my tabs, and let's just go ahead and set those aside. And then I also have just folded my other tabs. I didn't top stitch them. These will be for our zipper stops. Now let's work on the wristlet. So we have our wristlet fabric, and we're going to do the same thing as we did for the tabs. Now that we have the wristlet strap folded, I'm going to slide on our swivel hook, and then I'm going to use some wonder clips to kind of keep my swivel hook in the middle for now. And then just maybe a couple more from the center. And now I'm going to open the ends of the strap completely, like unfolding it on both ends. And then I will lay them right sides together. Wrong sides are up, and just pin those together. So the rest of your wristlet strap is folded, just your ends are opened like this. Now let's take it to the machine and stitch right down that side so your wristlet strap will be stitched together. Let's do that. Now that I have attached my wristlet strap ends together, I'm going to press them open, and then we will refold the strap just like before. And then I just like to go around and use a few extra wonder clips to keep everything in place. Now I'm going to take the wristlet over to the machine and just top stitch on both sides, making sure that I move the swivel hook as I go. Let's do that. Now that we have our strap top stitched, my D-ring is still moving around, so I'm going to use a zipper foot and stitch as close to the D-ring as I can. Now I'm going to show you how to attach your zipper stop. Grab one of your tab pieces that you didn't top stitch, and you're going to first measure your zipper to 11 inches. And as you can see here, I have already attached one of my zipper stops. So you will wait to cut your zipper until after you've attached your first zipper stop, and then you will cut it to 11 inches. So I've already done the one, then I measured it to 11 inches. So now I'll show you how to attach the zipper stop. So take your tab and put your zipper right in the middle between the fold, making sure your zipper goes all the way back. And just take your wonder clips and clip that in place. Now let's take it to the machine and stitch 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch away from the zipper. Let's do that. Once you have your zipper stop attached, you will want to trim off the extra fabric so it's even with your zipper. And there you have your zipper with your zipper stops. Now let's assemble the bag. You will take your bow fabric, right sides up, then you'll lay your zipper wrong side up, and you'll center that in the middle, and then lay your lining fabric right sides together with your main fabric. Let's go ahead and pin that in place. And now using a zipper foot, you'll stitch right along this edge, getting the zipper, main fabric, and lining all together. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now that we have stitched our zipper, main, and lining fabric together, let's go to the iron, and we're going to press these away from the zipper. And do the same for the main, just kind of giving it a nice finger press away from the zipper first. Now I will top stitch all the layers together 1/4 of an inch under the zipper. Now that we have our one side of our clutch done, I'm going to set it aside just for a moment because we have to add our D-rings to our main back fabric. So we're going to measure a 1/2 inch down from the top. Okay, just like that. Now we're gonna do a base stitch so those D-rings will stay in place while we sew the rest of our bag together. Let's go ahead and take those to the machine and put them in place. Now that we have our D-rings attached to our main fabric, grab your zipper and we're gonna lay the back main fabric right sides up. Zipper will lay wrong sides up. And then with your lining, check where your pockets are and make sure that the opening is toward the top where the zipper will be and center that. Let's rotate that around. We're going to pin everything in place, making sure your zipper is in the center. We'll take it to the machine and stitch that on. Let's go ahead and do that. Now that we have this side attached, let's go ahead and press it open like we did before. Okay, now that we have everything pressed, let's top stitch 1/8 of an inch away from the zipper on that side like we did before. Let's do that. Now let's open the bag up and I'm gonna fold my main fabrics right sides together and then take my lining fabrics and put those right sides together. And on the lining bottom here, you'll want to leave like a 2, 3, 4 inch opening. That way you can flip your bag right sides out. Let's take this to the machine after we pin all 4 sides, and you'll use a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance stitching, but make sure you leave that opening at the bottom so you can put it right sides out. Let's go ahead and do that. Now that I have everything stitched, I am pushing it right sides out. And your lining fabric will have the hole that you turned it right side out. You can just either hand stitch that or top stitch like 1/8 of an inch away to close that opening. And we can go ahead and do that. Now that I have stitched that hole closed from turning it right side out, I'm gonna push my bag corners in really nicely. And there you have your Cora clutch. So let's go ahead and move on to the strap. And now I'm going to show you how to make your strap, but I'm going to do it on a smaller piece of fabric. To save time, I've already made my strap. But you're going to take your strap piece and fold it in half, wrong sides together, like this, and give it a nice press. And then you'll open it back up and take your raw edges and fold them in to that center crease that we made and give it a nice press. After you got both of your sides toward your center, you're going to fold one more time, and then at this point we're going to top stitch on both sides of this strap. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now that I have my strap top stitched on both sides, we're going to add the hardware to it. So you'll want to grab your slider and slide it on one of the raw ends, and you're going to go up and down through the slider. So it looks like this. And then fold your raw end down about a 1/2 inch. So it looks like that. And then fold it back onto the strap itself. And we're going to top stitch that strap to itself. Let's do that. Now that I have my slider attached to my strap, we're going to go to the other raw end and slide the swivel hook on. And then take the raw end and your slider, slide the raw end up through the slider and down. And then for the last step, grab your swivel hook and slide it onto the raw end and fold it over a 1/2 inch like we did before with the slider, and then fold it back onto itself. And we'll top stitch that in place. Let's go ahead and do that. And that is how you make your strap. And there you have your Cora clutch. Thanks for watching, and remember to check out our website at thequiltedcow.com for patterns and kits. Like and subscribe, Thanks!
Okay, you wicked cool quilters, good job. You made it to the end. We would like to thank our sponsors, Husqvarna Viking Sewing Machines, Creative Grids, rulers, rotary cutters, and mats, and Wilmington Prints for the beautiful fabrics. Thanks for watching.